The Hugging Tree was published by Imagination Press in 2016, but it suddenly acquired a wide audience when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. It has now been read aloud here and abroad online by dozens of individuals, school teachers, principals, librarians, counselors, faith leaders, all ages chimed in, from school children reading together to a pastor with a bushy white beard. Some have read it by the ocean, others with their favorite companion pet, such as a guinea pig named Mocha. One of the most popular read-alouds is at 20,000 views as of September 2020. I do not personally know any of the people who chose to share The Hugging Tree, but I know why they chose it. The book is a story about resilience, about bouncing back from adversity. Here, 10 of us gather from across America to discuss what resilience means to them and the people they care for, the kids they teach, the family and friends they love, the congregations they preach to and hold in their hearts. This video presents highlights of their insights with some key takeaways about resilience. Enjoy.
What it was inspired by was the lone cypress, which is a tree you may know about on the Northern California coast. It landed on a rocky cliff, and God knows how it grew. It's totally inhospitable for a cypress. And because it was able to grow, it inspired people, and it's now been taken care of, and people have helped it through storms. And it's kind of a tourist attraction, which in other times when we aren't having a pandemic, I think it draws about 1 million visitors a year. It's a testament to resilience, and we can grow where we are. No matter the obstacles, we can find a way.
So I'm a pastor, and when the pandemic hit, I decided I needed to find a way to reach out to my young people in my church. And so I decided, hey, I can read a book online and they can watch. And so I got excited about that. And through the Hugging Tree, what I realized is that it wasn't just that preschool, elementary age kid that I was reaching out to. It turned out I was hitting my adults, maybe even more so than my younger kids. And the message in the Hugging Tree, the idea of resiliency, really resonated with a lot of folks. And so, for me in this time of a pandemic, that's really important to me for a community, not just a community of faith, but just a community in general, being able to survive day to day through all of this. It's been pretty crazy, as I'm sure you have all experienced in that regard.
I truly believe that a great quality education is the type of education that allows children from all type of backgrounds to solve problems that they're passionate about, to solve problems that will improve the quality of life for not only themselves, but for the people they love. About 4 years ago, my partner and I lost everything. Our home was completely obliterated, decimated in a fire. I was devastated. At that point, I was just drained. I didn't know. There was a point in which I asked myself, I felt like Job. I felt like everything was taken from me. But being the teacher that I am, being the person that I am, guess what I did? Instead of taking a day off, I went to the place where I found comfort. I went to the place that I call home. My true home has always been school. I heard your house burnt down. Do you have clothes? And I said, no, V, I actually lost all my clothes. And he says, I have something for you. And so he pulls his backpack, puts it in front of me. He opens it and he starts to take all this clothes out. Oversized shirts, oversized pants, shoes, socks. It just almost seems like a Mary Poppins bag. It just keeps coming out and out. And I asked V, like, V, where'd you get this stuff? He says, well, Mr. Galindo, you know, I live at the homeless shelter and they have all these things there for me and I wanted to bring you something. You always tell us that you have our back and I just want to show you that I have your back. And I think that is truly how we overcome adversity. It's the people in our lives who love us.
It's about just relying on each other and building a community and supporting each other through this.
I'm Kyrie Denby. I'm a music teacher, but I always look for books that speak into the lives of my kids. Any kind of book about loving yourself and treating people right and making right choices. Those are the kinds of books that I look for my class. And I end every class with a story.
I always feel like one thing that was really important for me was thinking my way out of things, like pulling back and using my intelligence to be able to see a situation and maybe maneuver myself around it and see it differently, understand it differently, understand how I might overcome it. And that was really important for me at a lot of different points in my life. And even now with the pandemic, I try to zoom out and understand it in terms of all of life. And viruses like to evolve, just like humans like to evolve, and all of nature on Earth is kind of all together moving through evolution. And I try to understand it that way so I don't feel so upset at the virus, which is really just doing what viruses do, you know, which is part of life on Earth.
Autonomy definitely stands out, and I've seen it also with just observing students on whether it's on the play yard and the way they share resources and so on. And most of the times when adults are not involved, I feel like things go pretty well, because I think sometimes we tend to really like dawdle on them and be on them, and it just doesn't give them that opportunity to grow. And I felt like even in my own life, there were so many times, so many things that we didn't have growing up, and we're always outside playing with my friends, whether it was, you know, like making our own soccer ball, like at one point, the first soccer boot that I had with my friend, we bought a pair together. We only had enough money for a pair. He was a lefty, I'm a righty. I would wear one half, he would wear the other, and we just kind of found a way around that. And, you know, so I just felt like that, being given that space to be independent. I found that also, that I share that with my parents in the class. Say, if I'm on a Zoom with the students, give them the space, let them operate. If they need you, they'll call you.
I also know that a lot of adults, when they're looking at children who are struggling or have had a trauma, they often say, oh, children are so resilient, they'll bounce back. And what I've observed is that children are resilient, but they're not resilient in a vacuum. They need support. They need that one person, like I think that you mentioned before. They need to know that there's a person there for them as they go through working through their grief. And I think that something that's very hard even for adults, I will certainly raise my hand to that, is asking for help can be really, really difficult. And I think a trait in resilience is being able to identify who can help you and ask them for that help.
That's true. And then sometimes it's hard to ask for help, isn't it? I mean, yeah, sometimes you might feel embarrassed, or it's painful in a way to acknowledge what you're going through, but it's really important to ask for help, right?
We've been in school 2 days, brick and mortar in the classroom. And I currently have a student, speaking of resilience, who has lost her mom and dad within a year. So I was like, gosh, I don't, have to find a way to be able to connect to this child. And, and that's what, like, the past 2 days have just been stressful enough, like being back in the classroom, and then like something, everyone, you don't realize how, when you think you have it bad, sometimes there's always someone worse, and it's horrible that it's an 8-year-old child. So, like I've been running through, because like I said earlier, like just being able to relate to a story, and I just, just head is constantly going, like, what could I, how could I reach this child?
Just like to add that you being present for her and validating what she's going through and normalizing the experience and just listening, that's huge.
Right.
You don't have to have all the answers. We haven't got them, and you can't fix it, because we really can't fix grief.
Exactly.
But the fact that you obviously care so deeply about her and you wanted to support her, I mean, you're already doing great things.
The other thing that it was interesting when I read Jill's book, it inspired a sermon series. So I preached a whole sermon series on resilience after that. But one of the things that I really dug into and I discovered was true, at least for myself and some folks that I spoke with, is we don't know how to talk about resilience. Our culture talks about perseverance, push your way through this. You can get to the other side of it. And if you work hard enough, everything will be just like it is on the other side of it. And what I loved about resilience, when I really got down to the brass tacks of what it meant, it's about adapting to adversity that's around us. And that's the time we're in. We're in a time of adapting, because as I tell my community around me, nothing's going to be the same when we get on the other side of this. So how do we adapt to that? How do we grow into whatever this new normal is going to be in the future? And so I think that's a huge part of it. And I think we do that through community.
As I was sitting here and listening to Michael, I was reminded of the time when I was in college. It was my junior going into my senior year. And I remember my car was stolen during that summer. And by my senior year, I still needed to get around to go to certain places, even when during Christmas break, having gets back home. And I just remember so many people helping me. I had a great community of people, classmates that just stepped up to the plate. I did not have to call or ask for a ride if I needed one, but there was always someone available to help me during that difficult time. And one word that I think about, and I think it's in the article that you sent us, Jill, the word is sociability, and just being able to connect with people, and people being willing to be empathetic. Putting themselves in your shoes. And I discovered the meaning of that, along with resiliency, all because I lost my car.
In the story, we talk about the tree and being the resiliency, but I think it's important that we don't miss the little boy. If the little boy's eyes hadn't been open to the need, in my sermon, I talked about the little boy showed that tree what love was. And in that, at the core of being human is to love one another.